Okay, so I've been in the medical equipment business now for 32 years, selling refurbished medical equipment. Over that period of time, I'm one of these guys who started out of my garage selling equipment to veterinarians. And it didn't take long before I had a lot of doctors showing up that was interested in buying products and getting good deals, mostly from Mexico because we're in California. And before I knew it, I was full blow going into the marketplace. Over these 32 years, we've sold over $100 million worth of equipment. We have equipped entire hospitals internationally as well as stateside. Lots and lots of surgical centers, facilities that are usually owner-operated type operations. The larger a corporation gets, the more concerns they have over quality issues, as they should be. One of the reasons I'm doing this talk today is with this much time in the industry and seeing the changes in the industry with the lack of standards, and we're competing with eBay and we're competing with, who knows, somebody out of their garage. Where are they at on the learning curve on what they know about products? And what are we doing to, as an industry, what are we doing in regards to assuring a quality standard? The idea that we are dealing with a lesson every time we buy a piece of equipment. When we're dealing with new equipment, I wanted to make a good comparison between the difference of what manufactured goods and new products are about versus the used market, and the differences and why they are so critical to our customers. And most importantly, are we as distributors of used products taking into account the quality standards that are required by the manufacturers in order to get those products on the market in the first place? That is our beginning of what our standards should be as resellers of equipment. If we're not taking into account those standards and we're just wiping it down and shipping it off without all of the due diligence, that's what gives our industry a bad name. And we're trying to be a little bit more vocal about these issues, and over time, the market has changed so greatly. What's going to be the next phase? So these are things that I'll be covering a little bit more in depth as we go through this afternoon. Some things that are important to understand about the market in used medical equipment is the differences between the imaging market versus the general medical equipment marketplace. And there is quite a bit more controls and money involved in the imaging side based on the sheer cost of capital equipment. So there have been organizations such as IMERS to try to impose standards on the market in order to assure quality or protect deals going together, that type of thing. The other thing we see, of course, is specialty companies, that they only will be dealing in one particular market sector because they know anesthesia machines. So that's what they specialize in, and that's all they deal in. My organization and many of other organizations that are dealing in the asset management side of the business, where we're taking on the needs of a hospital to deal with their excess assets. So we get everything. And with that, we have to find out which products out of those lines we're capable at doing a good job to refurbish properly, to resell. And in that reselling process, that we're taking into account that we haven't cost our customer too much in the quality side. There's always going to be a reasonable expectation that equipment's going to have a problem. I've never known a deal that I've done all over the years that I've been doing it that you haven't had something come up, whether it be an operator error, or don't forget to plug it in, or something more along the lines of, oops, you know, we didn't cover that one very well. So where we're at on our learning curve in this industry is critical towards the quality standards. And then it also comes down to you, the person who owns the used equipment company, and what standards have you set? And how do you interpret the term quality? Quality is a individual. I've read books about people going insane trying to figure out what does quality mean, because it is so individually. The definition is based on personal experience. And you used to compare to this, now you compare to that. The point being that our comparison should be on the manufacturer side, to look at the differences between the markets. Obviously, with regards to distribution of new product, you've got to go through R&D. You have to have a 510K FDA registration. All kinds of standards are set for new equipment, where on the used market, there aren't any, per se. I'll cover a little bit more further down on what has been proposed and where things are going. But you've got to look hard to find them. With regards to the ability to sell the equipment is the other big issue. Manufacturing, bring it on. I can make more of that. Raw materials are going to draw cost. Your R&D is going to be cost. All of these factors that are going to affect the price of the equipment doesn't exist in the used market, which is really one of the big oxymorons. It's very difficult in our marketplace to determine what should the price be and what is really value with regards to maybe I should buy it for this. And it's driven by, well, let me see how cheap I can buy it. But do you get the quality when you're paying the lower price? Same thing on the manufacturing side. They put more and more into the product. It's going to increase the value, and it's going to increase the market price on that product. In the used product marketplace, this occurs as well. But how do you differentiate yourself between the guy who's selling off one piece on eBay versus in your business where you want to sell 50 pieces, or you want to keep that continuing on and continue to support those products after the sale? What I've had problems with in the past, I gave somebody a great deal. And the next thing I know, his buddy is coming over and saying, I want to buy one too. And I'm like, I can't even go out in the market and buy it for that price in order to replicate the deal. So it's really a negotiated business. Makes it a lot of fun, but when you grow your organization, you get to a certain point and you start finding that these are things that get in your way and they interfere with growth. The biggest point that we have to deal with is, okay, where do we get our goods? Well, unlike the manufacturing side of the coin, they just make as many as they want, as many as they can get away with. And the competition, oh, don't talk about the competition. Those are the bad guys. Now, in our marketplace, we oftentimes rely on each other as dealers and wholesalers to acquire the equipment in the first place. Of course, we try to buy it directly from hospitals wherever we can, the auction market. The going out and taking that buy as is approach is why we're in the business, and that's what gives us the buzz. Most of us that have been drawn to this market is because of our entrepreneurial spirit, our ability to make a good deal and to be involved in our own business that can be profitable if we keep the standards. But there's nothing like that really great deal if you can remember in your head, like, oh, the time I bought blank, and you're like going, yeah, I remember that. You made a killing on it. So those are the kinds of things that keep us involved in really running the business. Now, the market in general, of course, is being driven down. On the manufacturer side, they're getting hit just as hard as anybody else with the cost of managed care, new rules and regulations in America, Obamacare. Hospitals are in a whole, the medical industry is in a flux. And it's really being driven down with regards to what margins looked like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 32 years ago. It was a whole different world, especially when you're not dealing with as much competition. So the idea that we're talking about here now is costs for us running a business, and whether or not you're taking those steps to do the added value that is so important when it comes to reselling your goods. And the bottom line to that is reputation will tell. We've always known about that good news travels fast theory, and bad news travels faster. And so if you make a mistake and you do something, or you do it sloppy, and you don't take the time to check the product thoroughly and say, oh yeah, it works, lights came on, must be good, and ship it away. This is going on all the time, and who's paying for it? Well, the customer got a great price, but do they have the biomedical team that's necessary to check that product properly before it's used on a patient? And as a wholesaler, if you're buy low, sell high, and you're only working on the basis of brokering equipment, where it's fine if the product is sold as is, take your chances. Well, a lot of us do that because we have the expertise, we do have the biomed team, we do have the support to recheck that equipment before it gets turned around and actually sold out on the retail side of the market. Now, this is something that's unique about our market, and one of the biggest changes that's happening now is the fact that distribution in a normal status for new equipment is going to be the manufacturer, and then it's going to be distributed. Maybe direct distribution, or maybe wholesale distribution. And then there's that team that is going to take on the cost of selling and marketing the product to the end user, to the hospital, the clinic, the doctor. And with everything being driven by price, when you're talking about the used market side, you've just taken that middle person out. You've removed the wholesale component when a facility is just selling everything as low as they can to the end user.